In today's video, I'm going to be showing you the 3 key metrics you need to understand and perfect in order to get that release correct, just like we see the pros do every single time without fail. And if this is something they can do very comfortably and easy, why can't we? So before I jump right into the video, for those of you who are new to the channel, this is one of your first videos of mine, welcome. I'm Harry, a golf teach professional helping you transform your golf games. Do consider subscribing to the channel and hitting the bell icon to all so you don't miss out on any future content, as it also helps me post more content just like this. So to be able to get that release just like the pros, the 3 key metrics involve a combination of what the arms, the hands and the wrists do as we make our way through that impact. So what I see a lot of golfers do, and they have the tendency of doing this, is getting to the top of the swing, trying to get this release on the downswing, and because they're thinking about it effectively too early, they'll push the hands too far out and end up hitting the ground like this here first. Or because we know we're going to be hitting the ground too early, we then drag the hands in too close, and then we get almost this chicken wing finish on the way through for that release, and this lead arm begins to flex and the trail arm flexes too much as well. So a lot of this disconnection taking place here from the arms and the body. And what we want to see in that release is when we make our way into the downswing, we want to see that natural bit of more of the hands staying ahead of the club face staying nice and square, of course, and then we are through like so. Seeing our arms nice and extended in this position here just after impact has taken place, hands staying a touch more ahead of where the club face is, and then the club face will naturally take over as we make our way into where the club reaches parallel in relation to where that ground is. So to do this, let's have a look at the first key metric, and that is how the arms should be working. We've just said there that common fault is seeing those arms begin to flex way too much, especially this lead arm, as it shouldn't be flexed at all. It should be nice and extended as we make our way to hitting the golf ball here, with the trail arm allowing for a little bit of flexion here. So for me, being a right-handed player, the right arm is ever so slightly flexed as my lead arm is nice and straight. And that allows me then to keep those hands ever so slightly ahead of the club face and get that ball then turf interaction with the ground, great compression onto the golf ball. But in order for us to be able to get that extension of the arms on the way through, we've got to be understanding why this reaction is taking place from the very top of that golf swing. So when we get to the top here and we're pushing our arms out a little bit too much, sometimes purposely, but a lot of the time subconsciously, pushing those hands and arms out too early, getting that early release to take place. Well, if we make our way up to the top of the swing, it's probably because our hands are staying a bit too close to us. So what I'm going to give you here is a great drill that's going to allow you to keep those hands a great amount of width away from the body, so we've got this nice width in the golf swing, and then how we can on the way down maintain that width on the way through. So a great drill for this is taking the club away and placing your hands and out in front of you, so they're basically tucked in either side as if you were to set up in a golf posture like this here. And I've got my palms facing towards the ground, and all I'm going to do is add a bit of pressure with my hands, pushing them directly down towards the ground. And as I push on the way back and I start that golf swing, I am pushing those hands all the way up to the very top of the swing. And this is really forcing that sensation of keeping that width into the backswing. Now for the downswing, we just want to be maintaining this push. We want to be pushing those hands all the way down and then all the way through. So the palms are facing towards the net. We don't want to see the palms like this here, because that means that those arms haven't exactly released over. They have holded this angle here on the way through, as opposed to allowing those forearms to naturally rotate over. And that's for the second drill as well for this. But on the way through, we're allowing those palms to face directly towards the target like this here. Don't want too much of this, don't want too much of this either. So that's really gonna help you get that extension in the arms on the way through. But another key part to this is allowing those arms to roll over. My trail arm goes in the downswing from being in this internally rotated position here, where the elbow is actually facing towards me, to then elbow facing away from the body. Almost this action here, the rolling of that forearm, my right arm on the way through to finish being the trail arm. And my lead arm in particular goes from being externally rotated, so where the elbow is pointing away from the body, to internally rotated, just like this here. So seeing this action take place where the elbow begins to point towards that wall behind me. So if I was to take the club away again, and after you've got used to that first drill of trying to keep the width in the backswing all the way down through to that finish position, we can then work on how the forearms, the arms in particular, roll over, to keep things simple, on the way down. And to do this, I want you to imagine you've got a book in your hands, and you can take a book if you want to do this, but I'm just going to place my hands either side like this here. Again, setting up in that setup, we're still feeling that width on the way back into the top of the swing, all the way down into the golf ball, and then all the way through to that halfway point to really encourage that release to take place, to really focus on that point. And what I'm doing here with my hands, I'm making sure that my right palm is facing towards the target address. All the way up to the top, I'm just pushing my hands away from me all the way up to the top of my swing. But as I make my way down, I am trying to allow my right palm, so I'm pushing my palms away still and my hands away, but I'm allowing my right palm on the way through to face the wall here. And you can see there, that's allowing my arms to go from this action here on the way back into the backswing here. And then from here, we're going this way. We're rolling them back over. So we're rolling them this way first in the backswing, and we're rolling them this way on the way through, allowing that natural release to take place of the forearms and the arms on the way through. So how this looks with the club is quite simple. We're taking the club in both hands, making our way into the top of the swing, pushing those hands away up to the top, and on the way down, keeping the width, but allowing that right palm to face towards the wall behind us. You can see my right palm's facing towards the wall behind us, and from that camera angle over there, you can see there, if we were to zoom in on the club face is beginning to close down on the way through. Not too much, not too little, somewhere bang on in the middle. And that's just because we've been able to get those forearms rotating over and getting that extension and pushing of those arms at the same time. That's how the arms should be working. So moving on to the second and third key metrics, we can combine these two together, and this is all to do with how the hands and those wrists work in that release. So when players get to the top of their swing, and assuming that they didn't do what they did before with the forearms, we're just going to go back to what a couple of my students have been doing recently, and I see this time and time again. And this is when they start that downswing, when the club reaches to a point parallel to the ground, that GX golf glove logo begins to face too much upwards towards the sky. When if we continue to rotate, and even if we try and roll those forearms over and rotate them over, we're going to leave that face wide open. So we're going to see those golf shots go way too far to the right. Whether that's a push or a slice, they're both going to go to the right. So in order for us to fix this outcome where we see too often this lead wrist of ours, so my left wrist being a right-handed player, get into this extended position here, we want to encourage a little bit more flexion in that lead wrist as we make our way down to where the club reaches parallel to the ground. And then the idea is to hold that angle, and from that combination of what we've just worked on with the arms, they can roll over as we allow that wrist setting to stay the same, the feeling of it to stay the same. This is going to eventually release over, but we don't want to see the club from this camera angle here release so that the club's hiding behind my body before my hands do. We still want my hands to be in control of that club face and hide behind the body before that club head does. And to do that, we've got to allow those hands to hold that position for a little bit longer as we roll those arms over. And just before I introduce this, I just want to give a quick shout out to the sponsors of the channel, GX Golf. They provide high quality golf clubs for a fraction of the price in comparison to their competitors out there on the market. I've been using them for a few months, really impressed with them. I'd highly recommend you check them out as well. Discount code here, and the link will be in the description below. So to get this angle, holding that angle on the way through, what I'm going to get you to do is taking the club away again. Again, no club needed for this, no training aid for this either. I'm going to introduce a training aid later, however, just to make things a little bit easier. but you can do this without training aids. And what that is when you take this action here that you just had with the hands here, we're going to take this lead hand and just place it on our chest for now. And what I want you to do with your trail hand is set it with the wrist just like this here. So the right hand, the right wrist of ours becomes in a bit more of a hinged or extended position. Flexion in the lead wrist we want, but extension in the trail wrist is what we want. So palm is still facing towards the target, but we've got that hinging take in place. And as we make our way up to the top of the swing, we want to get that palm to face towards the sky. Then when we reach parallel to ground, this is the key here, parallel to the ground, palm wants to be facing towards the ground as well. As soon as we start to see that right palm twist this way and it faces towards the sky, that's when that club face begins to open up and that extension of that lead wrist takes place, and then it's game over from there. So right palm's going to be facing towards the ground once the club reaches parallel to the ground. So right palm to ground here, and on the way through, we're just allowing that right palm, holding this set with the wrist angle, holding that angle, but allowing that palm to eventually face towards the wall behind me. So that action here is up to the top, palm to sky, palm to ground, roll that arm over, rotate the arm over, and hold that wrist setting there. We don't want to see this action on the way through because that's going to open the club face up again. We want to hold that angle, allow our chest at the same time, if this makes things easier for you, to begin to rotate through to target. But the key is holding that angle, hinging that wrist, and getting that palm to face towards the wall behind me. So how this looks with the club, taking this club and doing that same action now, palm to sky, palm to ground, that automatically sets that GX Golf Club logo here facing more towards the golf ball. Club end now, the leading edge of the club face is nice and parallel with my spine angle. So now as I begin to rotate down and begin to roll those forearms over, I'm still trying to hold this wrist hinge here, and look what happens as soon as I make contact with that golf ball. Hands are staying beautifully ahead of that club face, but the club face is lovely and square. So then if we hold this angle on the way through just for a bit longer, that club face begins to rotate over from this camera angle over here. But look at that there, my hands are hiding behind the body, so my hands are still in control of what that club face does as I'm releasing the club and compressing the ball on the way through into that point there. And then from there, we can just finish off that finished position as we begin to build this up all in one motion. However, if we're not taking the club back in the correct motion and we're starting to notice that club face open up on the way back, for example, it's going to be very difficult to achieve this in the release. So I'd highly recommend you checking out this video over here for a full guide on how we can take the club back, how we should be starting that golf swing to help you with that before you then apply this into your golf game. If you do think the takeaway is great, of course, I'd highly recommend getting straight into this, working on those 3 drills, and then commenting down below to let me know how you get on. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button, as there's lots more content coming your way every Tuesday, Friday, and Sunday. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the very next video. See you over there.